Okay, I'm going to show you what I've discovered regarding general principles of exercise. And specifically in this, the two basic principles that I want to start with are the core and the hips, because the core and the hips control are the foundation of everything else in the physiology for exercise and for general living. And the reality is that the core is actually, the stomach muscles are actually designed to protect your back muscles and all the nerves in your back, so that, or in the neck or anywhere else, because once the core is controlled, once the stomach is held in, it relieves all the pressure on your back, and it automatically normalizes the anatomy to a large degree, on the fundamental level. There are peripheral adjustments to be made as well, but especially from the hips. And that's one of the exercises I want to show just now, is the hips, because the hips have a lot to do with the shoulders and the knees as an example of how they control the peripherals. But the first thing is the core, and so first I'll show you the basics of that, and then I'll go to the hips, and then I'll show you the fire hydrant exercises. Fire hydrant, in reference to what a dog does on a fire hydrant, and some crossover lunges, and also but with the core, with the stomach, it's a magnificent display of invincibility that's totally missing from any of the modalities that are out there, other than strength coaching, that the professional athletes use when they have a good strength coach. And my strength coach doesn't even generalize as much as I do. So the first thing I want to do is show you how critical and how uplifting the core is for the physiology. If I let my stomach out like that, then immediately my neck tends to go like that, or like that, and there's pressure on the sacroiliac, on the lumbar, on the neck, and you can get carpal tunnel syndrome. And that's the only place it comes from, is the absence of an initial core position. So that if I have this position, but I pull in my belly, I don't have to do anything else, because the whole physiology, the whole anatomy straightens up. The upper physiology, that is. Obviously the hips are a little independent of that. And the whole upper physiology becomes healthier, and there's pressure off the nerves, and the muscles start working better, because the nerves control the muscles. And or if my posture was more like this, if I let it out like that, and then all I have to do is pull it in, and automatically I straighten up. You don't have to do anything else. And anybody who's doing anything in life, not just athletes, if they don't hold their core in, and the reason we have to do this is because our culture is totally ignorant. It's totally into, there's so much affluence that we have all this capacity to recline in a chair, and there's no longer a instinctive support attitude from the core, because this is a beautiful, the trunk of the human body is designed never to have any pain, or to cause pain in the peripherals, which it does when the core is released. So that's the first thing, is to always hold your core in. In fact, I have sciatica problems, I have sacroiliac problems sometimes, lumbar problems, and thoracic problems. And recently I've discovered that the core fixes all of them. I found that it was necessary to do some the upper spinal twist in recent times, or just again this morning, and I found that I was actually quite stiff because I was lifting weights yesterday, and because I've come off from a kind of a cold for a couple of weeks and having to shift my diet to a lighter diet, a much lighter, high alkaline diet. But that's something, these kinds of things are something you all have to work out for yourselves. This is strictly about the anatomical alignment based on musculature. Energy-wise and stuff, that's based on your own choices of what you understand in terms of alkalinity and acidity and the doshas or whatever in Ayurveda or whatever. And you know, being hydrated, drinking lots of water. In places like Iowa in the wintertime, dehydration, it comes very quickly because it's low humidity. So these are all considerations for specific people at specific times in their lives, and that's where your consciousness comes in, subjectivity comes in. You just have to be aware of yourself. So that's the core aspect. That core aspect is the first thing, and nothing can happen. Just to illustrate, the factories and warehouses in this country, OSHA requires them to put a sign up that says, "Always lift like this." Let me see, I'll tip this camera down so you can see me going down. It says always lift like this with your legs, you know, when you're lifting a box or something. But that's irrelevant because weightlifters lift, they lift without using the legs. Heavy weights, you know, like this, I can lift, you know, maybe 130, 40 pounds without using, with my legs relatively straight, just slightly cocked, because the core is pulled in. Or I can deadlift, the Romanian deadlift, I can about 260 pounds, like that. And the only reason you can is because the core's shoulders are back, of course, but the core is what protects you. It's not the legs. That's nonsense. And so, the pulling in the stomach, you pull it in real good, and your back's protected. That's what does it. That's how we're designed, and we forgot that because of our civilized. So now, the next thing is the hips. The beauty about the hips is the hips have a muscle called the piriformis. It's located about here on both sides, and that's what controls protects the knees from injury. Because if the piriformis is tight, the alignment on the knees, the pressures on the knees, you might not notice it, but they're there, or the dynamics or the way the muscles are pulling is going to hurt the knees. You release that, your knees will get better instantly. And likewise, the hips control the shoulders. Chiropractors will tell you that if the shoulder's out, it's most likely caused by the opposite hip. So I have a little problem with my my right shoulder. It's most likely caused by my opposite hip. But the exercise I'm about to show you, well, first I'm going to do some more. I'm going to do some relief work. I'm going to show you how to do some relief work. I should have a foam roller or a ball at least to show you how to do this. Actually, I could do it with a jar. I think I'll do it with this jar with pumpkin seeds in it. In the one instant, but in the other instant, I mean, don't do it with a jar because it'll kill you. But I can probably do it because I'm already relieved. The tension is out of those muscles. But as far as the first exercise goes, I'm going to use a wallet. But I want you to get a foam roller. You know what a foam roller is. They're a cylindrical styrofoam thing that's kind of tough, but it gives a little bit. A wallet's kind of like that. So I'm going to make sure you can see me on the floor here. The first thing you do before you do any exercise is release your piriformis and your IT band. Let me see if you can see me. Yeah. You put the side of the body you're trying to release. You put that leg up on the other leg, which is up, right? Of which the knee is up. And also that that arm is what holds you up. And you should feel around on that foam roller or soccer ball or whatever. I can feel it today, because especially because I was lifting weights yesterday. There's a soreness right in there, and you want to dig into that soreness. You want to make it, you want to release it, just like if you're going to a massage therapist or myofascia therapist and paying a lot of money. But this is much more effective and much more all you really need, you know. I mean, there are other peripherals you can release, and I'll show you those in a minute. But you can be self-sufficient. Self-sufficiency is even better than a strength coach, which is magnitudes of order better than a chiropractor in terms of cost and effectiveness. But being self-sufficient is even better than that, because who can feel themselves better than their own self? So you dig into that piriformis and you relieve that tension, that pain in there. There's a lot of pain in there right now, and you want to relieve that. And that'll make your performance of your athleticism or your daily activity go way up. Okay, so all you have to do is take the pain down 50 to 75%, and then of course you do it the next day, and after 2 or 3 days it'll be basically gone. And then, so you just do the same thing on the right and the left, and the knee goes, the knee goes on the foot goes up that you're sitting on the side of, and the elbow goes down that you're sitting on the side of, as you can see. So my left was worse than my right. There it is, it's there. You want to relieve that, get that pain out of there, and that'll protect your legs. And it's also, like I say, it's good for your shoulders. And then the thing that protects your feet, that makes your arches stand back up if you have flat feet, is getting a foam roller, not a glass jar like this. This would kill you. And rolling down on that foam roller. Get your wallet. Oh, I don't have a wallet here. I just sat on the wallet. But you get on that foam roller and you roll down it. Like that. Now you put your foot here, because it's liable to hurt like hell. You take some of the pressure off. But you got to do that, relieve that. When I first did this, it killed me. I was screaming to the high heavens. And of course I was laughing at the same time, because it was waking up my nervous system, giving me bliss. But you go down. See, like right there, it's a little pain. And you just wait until the pain drops. Of course, I sent some of you these videos that were online already, but this is custom. So see, that IT band's pretty good, because if I can take a glass jar, there's not much tension in it. Then you do the same thing on the other side. You start from just below your hip, you run down your IT band, and this will bring your arches up. If your feet hurt, this will make your feet much stronger. So your IT band controls your feet, and your piriformis controls your knees, protects your knees. So you stretch out as much as you can here. I'm trying to center myself on that jar, because it's kind of short compared to a 3-foot foam roller. And anyway, this is just for demonstration, so I don't have to go through the whole thing myself. It did help me. And the other thing I want to show you is how to make those hips strong so you can protect your shoulders with it. Of course, your shoulders, as I'll say, you have to work on your shoulders too. When I'm lifting, like if I'm doing overhead squats, you know, like this with 120 pounds like this. If I'm doing overhead squats, then I'll get a pinch right here sometimes, or some kind of a pinch, like maybe right here, maybe, and that you want to relieve that. You look into your pectoral, you squeeze your pectoral, and you find a sore spot, and you relieve it. You squeeze it. Hurts like hell, but you squeeze that sucker. immediately the pain will go away from having lifting up your arm. You can do the same thing with your subscapula and your armpit here. You relieve that if there's a pain in there. And of course you can back up to a you know, something that protrudes. Let's say this doorknob is kind of like that. And you can get that relief like that. You know, but you get into that pain and you relieve it because it's not supposed to be there. It's not something you want to avoid. You want to get in there and push it out. And then all of a sudden everything's free. And then you can exercise properly. And then by the time you line yourself up, those things won't come back again, right? So the exercise I want to show you is called the fire hydrant exercise. And then I'll show you the crossover lunge. And these are what really line the hips up. So you get on, you know, all fours. You put your toes, my toes aren't that flexible, but you put your toes up, you know, you don't sit on them. You don't leave your toes on the flats, the tops of your feet. You don't put your feet, the top of your foot down. You put the balls of your feet down. Like I say, mine don't. And then there's 5 positions or 5 exercises for this. Oh, I gotta tip the camera down. Let's see if you can see me now. Yeah. The first one is, let's see, I better come this way a little bit. The first one is simply like a dog. Now, when we were talking about the core earlier, whenever you do exercises like this, you always hold your core in, or you'll never do a proper exercise. Maybe if you're running or something, it's instinctive. Your body naturally holds its core in. But if you're doing slow, heavy lifting, or stretching or something, or a work where you don't want your back to move, especially, you don't want your torso to be twisting, because you're not twisting your torso in this exercise, you're making your hips flexible and strong. Because there's lots of muscles around them hips that need to be flexible and strong, right? So, you do 20 of these, maybe 10 if you're already real strong and the hips already, you know, you don't really need them. Some people don't really need much work in their hips. You do, so like that, you do 20 of those, and just straight out, just like you were a dog peeing on a fire hydrant. Like that. Let's see. Now, the next one is simply as big a circle as you can make from this position. A half circle, that is. So you just go like this. Like that. So as big as you can get it. But don't let your belly come in, drop out, and your back arch. You hold yourself rigid. Because your hips are what's doing the work here. You're not just flexing your back. You think you're doing something and you ain't, see? You gotta really hold yourself tight. So you just, as big a circle as you can get. Like that. See, 20 of these. And then you reverse it. You go back the other way. As big a circle as you can get. Like that. 10 or 20 of those. And that'll help your shoulders as well as make your hips strong and flexible and your legs and everything. That's the real foundational work, see? Before you start lifting weights or doing whatever you do. Even if you're sitting and typing, you want to hold your core in, you know? Or you're watching TV, you don't want to slouch in all these cushy chairs all the time. That's ruining everybody's bodies. So, that's 3. The third one is just cradle. You just come up like that, and then back. Like that. And see, I better turn sideways so you can see this. As a matter of fact, I probably should do a couple of these like that, so you can see it. You see, it's just as big as circles you can get. Now, a couple days ago when I was doing these, on Saturday, I'd get up like this, and I'd come back, and my hip would pop. Today it's not doing that. I guess I'm getting more put together here. Changing my diet a little bit, exercising. That hip's not popping right now. So I can make a full circle. Well, there it was popping a little bit. But anyway, the one I was just going to show you is the cradle. Cradle goes like this, up and then back. You see, I'm not going very far because I'm stiff in the hips, but I'm not letting my torso go like this either, right? I'm not doing like that to make it think that I'm flexible in the hips. That's not what the exercise is. It's a hip exercise. It's not a, torso bending exercise. Did you see that? You getting that up? Hit my belly or my fat or my stiff hip or whatever, and then back. But you're holding everything tight. There's no movement in the torso, whatever. Got it? And then you do the next one you do is even more rigorous than those, as far as I'm concerned. My experience is you see, I gotta come forward for this one. Oh man, my knees hurt. I say you're on all square here, and you go straight back like that, and then you come out like this, all the way out. Let's see if I'm visible. I'll have to do that one sideways too. Oh man, it hurt my hip. 1, 2, without moving my torso, holding that torso real tight. Holding that core in, that stomach muscle in, like that. See? And then do 20 of these. 10 or 20, depending on how. But let me show you it from the side now. Boy, hip stiff. You notice I don't arch my back. I don't do like this. Or twist my torso. Keep it stiff like a statue. And I think I'll do these after the video because I can sure use them on my off lifting day. Okay, now that's that one. Now, the crossover lunges will also straighten out your hips, make you strong in a different way, more of a, because you're actually doing a squat while you're doing them. So you do the crossover lunges, you get your feet about shoulder width apart. Let's get rid of this. At least I'll put them out here so I can have a place for my side of my foot. My side of my foot's level will be a little tender. So you do, let's see, I'll step over here so you can see it. You step like this. Oh, I see. Yeah, I stepped the wrong way. I'll just get rid of the carpet altogether. So you step like this. Let's see. Like this. Let's see, what am I doing? Like that. With the foot, you step across the front. And then when you squat, you make sure that heel stays down. You push that heel down, see? And that resets your hips. So if I go back the other way, I'm not stepping across so much as I am just stepping over. Like that. You see, this leg's straight up and down, you're squatting, and that heel goes down. So if I do it in a dynamic fashion, it looks like this. It hurts my, I'm trying to stay in front of the camera, that's why I'm double stepping like this. You just have to do it one lunge, that's all. one sideways lunge, but I have to step sideways so you can see me in the camera. See, it's hard to keep that heel down. Side of my foot's a little tender on the hard floor. If I put these tennis shoes on, it might demonstrate it better. But this one really resets the hips because you're forcing that heel down on the dragging foot, on a lagging foot. And that resets your hips. Actually, I was going to use my, see that, force that down like that, and come back, force that one down. Like that. I'm confused, because I'm trying to center. Okay, so I've shown you the 4 things for your hips. The first thing is to sit on that piriformis and release that pain, release that tightness in there. That'll protect your knees. That'll line up your muscles that are going down to your knees. The second thing is the IT band, rolling that down, and that protects your feet. And then I showed you the hip flexors, which really make your hips strong and flexible. Point your feet straight ahead, especially, and then that crossover lunge just probably really makes your feet point straight ahead. And I mean, athleticism's pointing ahead. A lot of sports, they turn their feet out for stability reasons, like in powerlifting, martial arts, dance, a couple other things. But most sports, feet straight ahead, that's what you want. And so next time I'll show you the warm-ups. Maybe tomorrow when I go to the rec center, I'll show you how to do the warm-ups. And they activate the entire physiology. I mean, they activate all the muscle groups. They activate you instead of being ignorant of them and just following the old patterns of your athleticism, of your anatomical motion, you know. Alignment is what we're looking for here. This is ridiculous the way I see people over at the rec center. I try to explain this to them, and they're so stuck in their desire to be athletic and strong and and attractive, but they don't even understand the fundamentals, and they won't listen to me. So it's really frustrating. And what my goal is to get stronger and stronger. And then, you know, make it hard for them to argue. But I guess I'm not that, good of a diplomat and good of an example to convince people. You know, people are sort of, they have to do their own thing. So, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and do my hip flexors. I mean my fire hydrants now, because those are real stiff. They're good for an off-day exercise. All right, how do you shut this off?